Big night in the NBA last night.
Hey now.
As Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Without Eric Bledsoe, he is hoping to be there, I believe, on Friday when they go up against San Antonio in San Antonio land. So the Bucks took on the Cavs, and LeBron was great as usual. Kevin Love had 32 and like 15 or 16 rebounds, didn't even attempt a three, which I find mind-boggling. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, when they, it wasn't, I'm not trying to pull a buck here, all right?
Oh boy.
It was not a must win.
Oh.
It was just a good win.
It was a good win.
It was a good win. It was not out of necessity. It was like, okay, it would be nice if you could beat a good team that's really on the rise.
I bet you don't give up 119 points.
And they did. Yeah, defense optional. The Milwaukee Bucks, once they get Eric Bledsoe, I said this yesterday, it's going to be really interesting how they are going to line up, who they're going to start, and what sort of defensive rating they are going to have. I don't believe that they're going to be this poor once they do get Eric Bledsoe. It adds that much more versatility. Everyone can play a better role.
I don't think they were that poor in the first place in the game. I want to make a correction too from yesterday's video. The stats on Greg Monroe and John Henson were from last year. So a lot of people, I was reading the comments because a lot of people, no, which is rightfully so, I wasn't specific enough. Like last year's numbers with Greg Monroe, all of 2016, 2017, not the first 10 games into this year, to which yes, John Henson was playing better interior defense than Greg Monroe was. But John Henson overall in last year and what they have was not as good as Greg Monroe was. So obviously, different team this year, different pieces slightly, and of course they're gonna be adding more. I just wanted to clarify that because I was like, holy shit. Speaking on 2016, 2017 terms, because we're only 11 games into this year, so fair enough. Also, Dellavedova is probably gone at some point.
Yes, I agree with that.
2-3 weeks.
I agree with that as well. With Bledsoe and Brogdon.
He can go play with David Blatt, and everybody will forget him.
What, in like Israel?
Yeah, sure. It's like Ben's takeaway when David Blatt was fired.
Where is he coaching now?
Who cares about David Blatt? And he's right. It's like, why are people defending a guy who is completely irrelevant in the history of the NBA?
I think you tipped your hand to why, and this is going a little off the deep end here, but why, or getting off topic, but why we hated David Blatt, or why we sided with David Blatt, not we, but a lot of people, was because there's not much to hate on LeBron. You could hate on his greatness.
Gets coaches fired.
You could hate on his social media. He gets coaches fired. This is one of the few things where there is an opening for people to have disdain for LeBron and the ammunition to go up against him. So that's why it seems like at least people would do it. Last night, yes, Giannis had 40.
He had 8 turnovers, which I didn't realize.
He had 8 turnovers.
A lot of turnovers.
And he fouled out. Look, 16 to 21 from the field. Kudos.
He did foul out, that's right.
Kudos.
That's right.
But he fouled out. Malcolm Brogdon had 22, 3 straight games at 20 points.
Hey now.
Chris Middleton had 20. John Henson, the heir apparent with Thon Maker to Greg Monroe leaving, 2 fouls in 3 minutes. The biggest thing that we saw from the Milwaukee Bucks, and this isn't going to be a theme when they make the playoffs, because they are going to make the playoffs. They're not going to stay the 10 seed or whatever it is outside of 1 through 8 right now as we are on this set, is going up against a stretch 4, stretch 5, who Thon Maker and John Henson have to defend. Because what it'll be similarly to is how Dwight Howard, a traditional big, struggled against a guy, and we'll get into this momentarily, of Kristaps Porzingis' ways of shooting threes and just taking a traditional big away from the basket, because that is where Thon Maker and John Henson are really going to struggle. Thon Maker has had his struggles this year, but we think he's 19, right? 20?
37.
He could be. So
47.
Maybe he'll develop at 57. But as of right now, from the smallest of small sample sizes, Jason, that we have seen, they're not interior defense. Their way of defending bigs who can shoot has been poor.
It all changes too. I mean, again, it's just so early. Like that's why we're going to do a Porzingis clip too, which is it's wonderful to see, but it's rapid reaction and it's overreaction. The Cavs are still bad, which I will say every day until the Cavs can prove that they're good.
Right.
And again, and people like they don't seem to understand.
Great segue, by the way.
They don't seem to understand that, like when you watch how lost they look on defense, they will still be one of either the 25th worst or worst in that defense this entire season. That's not changing. None of the pieces on that team are all of a sudden going to snap into action and be like, okay, yeah, now guys, we got to try on defense. Like, LeBron is that good that sure, he can carry that team to the finals, but if you're expecting any kind of 3-1 comeback or anything close to the Cavs winning a game against the Warriors, I'd be shocked. And I'm gonna be honest, I think any of the top 4 teams eventually 1 through 4 that come out of the West would beat the Cavs in any final series. It'd just be a matter of it's not being a sweep. If it's a certain team, it would be 6 or 7 games because the West is just that much better. So the Cavs are on definite watch for like, this is the year that LeBron doesn't make the NBA Finals. And again, it's gonna open him up to the most unfair criticism in the world, which is gonna be, couldn't even make it out of the East that year after going to the finals 7 straight years.
Right, so this was gonna be my question to you and to everybody in the comments, and then we can move on to Zinger. But knowing how bad their defense is, if they do not add anybody, and yeah, Mon Shumpert's gonna return at some point and whatever. Isaiah Thomas is gonna come back, not a good defender. If they don't add anybody as a perimeter defender, or even just a good defensive player who can guard the 1 through 3 positions, is this the weakness that will lead to Cleveland not making the NBA Finals? Is there an opening right now for a team like Boston or Toronto or any others that a lot of people see fit?
There's a massive
who could possibly unseed the Cleveland Cavaliers? Is my question. I still think they're going.
I think at this point I would say there's like a 60% chance that the Cavs make the finals, and I'd say there's a 40% chance they get knocked out in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'd be shocked if they didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals, because I do think if they went up against whoever the 8 or the 7 seed is, or even the 6 seed by that point, if they're the 3 this year, they'll have no problem handling them. Playoff LeBron is obviously a different person.
Yes.
And playoff LeBron, it's basketball. People forget this. One player can carry you to a championship, or at least get you to the finals. And LeBron could do it all by himself. If he plays 48 minutes for 8 straight games, I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron sweeps a team by himself.